Alright, so for this video, we're going to talk about what happened at the Black Comic Book Festival. I was terrible and did not pull my camera out, so the little bit I do have is coming from my mom, it's coming from everyone else. And then I'm going to show you my haul. Alright, so we are on the floor today because this room looks really bad. I have not cleaned it in about a week and a half, and I don't know about y'all, but like I'll start pulling books for videos and stuff, and I'm not good with putting things back. It kind of just like lives somewhere until I hurt myself. So shortly after this, I'm going to spend the next few hours cleaning up this space as well as the rest of the house. Yeah. Alright, so let's talk about the Black Comic Book Festival. Overall, I had a really good time. I went on Saturday and there were amazing panels. I was there for almost every panel. I think I missed the first one, which was a musical. But I went to Karama Horn, the Blur Girls. I went to her, what is it called? I went to her panel where she was the moderator for the Inyanu panel, and let me tell you, that one was absolutely amazing. It talked about Inyanu, which was at first a comic graphic novel, and then it's now becoming an animated series on Cartoon Network, and the animation in that is amazing. We got to talk with the creator, Roye, and the writer, I forget her name, I'm gonna put it right here, and then the episodic director, Dawood. And that was just like an amazing thing. The insight they gave into how they busted their behinds to put this animated series together was fantastic. You get to see like the intentionality of making sure that they got this right so that any other show that came behind it would actually have a fighting chance, because we're seeing these days that a lot of animation, especially what they did with canceling Craig of the Creek, black animation done that, you know, is about people of color, black people, is not being given a chance. So they are really fighting to make sure that they get it right, and it felt really, really good. It reminded me a bit of the Disney show, just a little bit, not completely. It reminded me of the Disney show, oh my god, I'm terrible at names, putting it right here. That limited run is great. I had a great time. We binged it while I was doing my kids' hair. So yeah, I'm really excited about it because of that panel. What else? Then we had the panel with Sister Sci-Fi, and I'm wearing a Sister Sci-Fi shirt. It's pretty big on me these days, so I just wear it, you know, when I'm around the house now. But it has Octavian and Nettie, Tomi, Nalo, and Nisi, and NK. But yeah, it was Sister Sci-Fi, Erica from Fabulous Magazine, who is a really good friend of mine, and then it was a couple of women in non-binary people in horror, and it was great. That panel was absolutely amazing, talking about, you know, this new golden age of black women in horror was fantastic. They gave a lot of it gave a lot of insight as to why black women in horror is like on the uptick, and why it's important that we have these horror stories. And then like there was this question about, you know, trauma versus like that cathartic feeling that's supposed to happen at the end of horror stories, because without that feeling it's just trauma, you know. But overall, it was a great conversation. And then I can talk about my panel. I was a moderator for the free writing. Why am I forgetting names of shit? But for my panel, I'm going to put it here because my brain is blanking. But it was great. I had Greg Burnham. I had Dr. Shamika Ann Mitchell. Frankie from Fantastic Frankie, and then Michael from Black Gay Comic Geek. And that was a really, really good conversation about advocacy, about how, you know, both creators, and I'm going to use the term that Shamika used, which was, you know, culture critics, influencers, you know, have to advocate for representation, accurate representation, authentic representation in comics, in the comic industry. And so, like, that was a really great conversation. I think I had someone walk up to me and say, hey, that like helped me reshape how I need to like go over, you know, how I have to like write my comics and like be intentional with it. And I thought that was great, because at the end of the day, that's what these are. You know, you take information away from these panels, and then you know, synthesize it and try to figure out how you're gonna use it in the world. I got to meet some amazing people. I met John Jennings. I met Zenny Rocklin, which like fangirled the shit out of. I'm so happy I didn't like lose my cool in front of John Jennings, but one of these days I won't be so weird when I meet people. One of these days I won't be so weird. But yeah, I met some great people and picked up some great comics. So let's get into that. Wait, no, we're not gonna get into that yet. So me and my mom, we were walking around prior to this, and because we were down near Times Square, she went and got Broadway tickets, and then I went and got us some pens. So this is from The Wiz. I love The Wiz. I love the movie. I have the vinyl sitting downstairs. Like, I have a, you know, fairly decent vinyl collection, and half of it is sitting, half of it is on walls. So downstairs on my living room wall, that's where The Wiz sits. But yeah, I have some pens. Because you cannot go wrong with pens. I swear, like with book boxes and all of that stuff, I never really, and I posted about this a few days ago, but I never really get those kind of things. But if you send me a pen, a button, a sticker, I'm good. And I know that sounds so basic, but I like to get things I'm gonna use. Right? Like, let me show you my jacket. Like, oh, give me a patch. Psh, sewing it on. So this is my jacket. I wore it to the Black Comic Book Festival, but it was dead ass so cold that I had this big shawl around my neck. You could not see any of this. It was all hidden. But you see my pens? Hell yeah. I think one of these is from a book. I wear pens all the time. I love them. So yeah. Oh, and I have one of my Wiz ones. And this one is a Monet Exchange. This one is from my friend Alma and Stevie Wonder. If anybody out there that, you know, send me a pen or keychain. I know those sound so little and so basic, but I love them, and it's one way that I walk around with the shit all the time. Alright, enough stalling. Let's get into these books. One of the most important things that I bought was this graphic novel, and it is Brother Man Revelation, if you can see. And if you can see the back. So like I said, Dawood, I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but Dawood is one of the episodic directors for Nyanu. And he also does, he's done storyboarding for several shows, and he was one of the creators of Brother Man, worked on Brother Man. And so my husband has loved Brother Man since he was a little kid. We actually have the originals. Let me pull those up for you. See what happens when you're organized? So, Brother Man. So, we have these, right? And I think we have all of them. But yeah, my husband grew up loving Brother Man. And we went looking for the long, like when I see, this is gonna just more stuff that I need to put up afterwards. Okay, so when I got into this comic world, I knew that one of the first things, or one of the things I was gonna do one of these days when I got the courage, was to, as Dawood for a signature. My goal was to like DM him and go, hey, if I send Brother Man #1 to you, can you sign it, please? But I realized that might cross some, that might cross some boundaries. So I never really did it. And I was like, one of these days, it'll happen, right? So today, at the comic book festival, I was like, that's Dawood. And I was like, wait, usually at the festival, after panels, there are books to sign and stuff. And he said it. He said, he had Brother Man Revelations, and they were going to be out there signing. So my panel was right after theirs. And I was like, yo, I can't be there to get this signature. So I went to my mom and said, look, you need to get this signature. And it needs to say, for Malik. And my mom was like, all right, how do I spell that? And I'm like, woman. So I'm like, look, get it right. I'm telling her how to spell the name. Like, get it right. Get this for Malik. And so she did. And I came home, and it was one of the first things as soon as I got off the train. As soon as I got off the train, I put this in his hands and was like, love, okay? So this was my most important piece of the collection, piece of the haul that I got. So I did splurge in one place in particular, and that is Fair Square Comics. So I've been following Crystal, who is a co-publisher at Fair Square Comics, for a while. And when I saw that she was going to be there, I was like, all right, bet. Let me give what I can here. And so I bought these 3 comics from her. So let's go over them. So this one is, what is this? This is Noir Stories from Black Creators. So basically there are 18 original noir stories crafted by Black creators from around the world. And there is a list in here. There's Marcus Williams, there's, the team behind Tuskegee Heirs is in here. So Greg Burnham, he was also on the panel that I did. Marcus Williams is in here. My friend Erica is also in here. Greg Anderson Elise. Who else was he? Brandon Thomas. Brandon Thomas, I love his work. He wrote Excellence, and he also, he's all over DC. But Aquaman, the Last Becoming, I believe. Aquaman the Becoming, sorry. It's when Aqualad becomes, or shortly after he becomes Aquaman. And it's so amazing. I love that run so much. But yeah, there is a list in here. There's David Walker in here. This just is amazing. And I'm very excited to get into this. I don't often do short stories with comic books. So between this and Shook, I'm very interested to see the format. Next up is A Fox in My Brain. So this one is about main character who discovers she has cyclothymia, which is a mood disorder from the bipolar family. So it says, what do you do when you discover a little wild fox in your brain? Can it be tamed and subdued? And how to be happy when you have to coexist with such an unpredictable creature? Welcome to Lou's world, her doubts, her joys, her challenges, her sense of humor, and a lovingly annoying fox. I thought this one looked so cute, and I wanted to buy books that were out of my experience but still felt somewhat relatable. And to find a book, I don't think I've read a book with a main character who is bipolar or has the mood disorder from the bipolar family. So I'm excited to see what this is. Next, okay, so this is a translated book, and that's one of the big reasons why I got this. This was originally a French comic that was published out there, and then Fair Square brought it over to the United States and translated it. And I'm very interested in this one. So it's called A Boy Named Rose by Gael Guennier. I'm fucking terrible with names. But yes, this is a mature comic. Oh, so this one was originally published in 2021, called Le Jardin, or The Garden, Paris. I'm not sure if it's trans rep, but it's about a kid named Rose, or 19-year-old named Rose, who wants to become a burlesque dancer. And, you know, they're just trying to figure out their gender. So, yes, as you can tell, I don't know too much about it. But when I saw that it was translated work and it has LGBTQ rep, I was like, yes, I'm gonna get it. Next up is Wash Day Diaries. I got this one. I already have it and I already talk about it. It's a book that I recommend to literally everyone. It's amazing. It's about these 4 girls in New York, and it's like a slice of life, but it speaks to the experiences of a black woman, black queer women, black women dealing with mental health in New York City. And honestly, I always say that if you've never read comics before and you're not into like sci-fi, fantasy, horror, that kind of stuff, this is a great entry point for a lot of black people just getting into comics, especially black women getting into comics. I love this one so much, and obviously like the hair, the representation is just on point. But I got this one because Robin Smith was there, and look how she signed it. It's so amazing. It was so amazing. Fun story. Got Robin's name mixed up. Called her Jamila. I was embarrassed, and it sat with me for days. I'm just now getting to a point where I could little, chuckle about it. But yes, I accidentally called Robin Jamila. But to be fair, once again, I'm terrible with names and bad with faces. Do you know how I stress over that so much, and I fight constantly? So if I've never gotten your name wrong, if I've never gotten your face wrong, please note that that is important. I also got this one from Black Josie's Press. It was with Robin, but this one is by Jamila, and it's Ode to Keisha. Why else would I pick it up? No. I don't know it. Oh, it's an autobiographical comic that examines how race and identity shaped a fundamental childhood friendship. And that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So yes, I definitely got this because it says Ode to Keisha. And I'm actually going to frame this one and put it on my wall. I'm going to read it, but I'm also going to frame this and put it on my wall. So I had to make sure. I'm like, did I have this book? And I didn't, because I usually get a lot of stuff from Rosarian Publishing. I love their work. I always talk about Bad Mothers and Box of Bones. Yeah, the comics are great in Rosarian Publishing. And then they also have like short stories and stuff like that I'm still like getting through. But they also have this comic called Day Black, and this one was written by, Keith Cross. I was like, I wanted to make sure. This one was written by Keith Cross. Now this one, it deals with, like, in this world there's pollution, so the clouds are covering the sun, and vampires are allowed to walk in the day because of that. And you're dealing with a vampire whose name is Merce, who's a former slave and was bitten by a vampire in the cotton fields. So 400 years later, he works as a tattoo artist in a small town of Day Black. Like, when he was talking about, like, when Keith was talking about how, this vampire gets his blood and all that stuff, I was like, yo, this is such an out-of-pocket, like, not even out-of-pocket, but it's just like, it was so creative and just so wild of a way to like create this new concept with vampires. And I was like, I've never heard a vampire story like that, so let me get this. Also, this artwork reminds me of this art my mom bought at a flea market when I was a kid. Bought it. It's like these giant 4x3 pieces of art, and bought them for like 50 cents each. And then I remember her spending a ridiculous amount of money on the frames, and like the artwork was very much like this, so it just, number of reasons why I was like, okay, I need to get this. I think there are 2 volumes of this, and then one of the variant colors, I'm not into variant covers too much, that's why I didn't get it, but this one had like a velvet on the cover, which is really, really cool. I was like, okay, like if I'm gonna get a variant, like that one's cool. I'm not even gonna tell you how much I spent on this. I know I spent more than I should have, but the creator is a woman. I don't ask questions. If like, this is how much you want, I have a purpose in which I'm buying this, take the money. But yeah, this one is Dill Comics, and one of the ones is Hard Being Dill. So the entire thing is in black and white. We were writing illustrations. Right. So this is by Clyde Rich and by Clyde and Dill. This is cute. Do I know what this is about? No, but it's about I think it's about a kid in school. I should have asked, right? This is one of those times where I was just like, you're black, you're not a guy. Cool, I'm buying your shit. But there was one kid who was about to make a trade of a lifetime. Oh, so we trading stuff in a school school courtyard. You know what, that sounds cool, but as a parent, I'm like terrified because my kid used to bring their Pokemon collection. King used to bring his Pokemon collection to school, which was cool until my husband gave him like his original set from the 90s, like the original set, and kid brought that to school. So we were like, yeah, fuck, no. You're not allowed to do those kind of trades in school. Maybe we should, no, it's already his. So yeah, I have no idea what this one is about, but I mean, I bought it. And it says, read more comics on dillcomics.com. But the artwork looks cool. It looks cool. We'll see, right? These 2 are from the Unique Universe, right? And this one, they're all done by Roye Coupe, who, like I said, that panel was absolutely great. But I got these because I'm not even gonna bother to like pull them out. But everything from like this one on is the entire Unique Universe. And I had everything except for these last 2. Now, with the Unique Universe, you can read them standalone, or there's this informational flyer. When I find it, I'm gonna put it in my my link tree. But basically, it tells you how to read, if you're gonna read them all, because they're all kind of connected and it all comes together in Aloris. There's a way to read every single one of these that is outside of the order of reading like one run volumes 1 and 2, right? So instead of reading Malika volume 1 and then Malika volume 2, I think it's like Malika volume 1 and then the next one is EXO volume 1. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now that I have the entire universe, or like everything up to date, I'm gonna do this major push to read the entire thing, because I'm only a few volumes behind. But now I'm gonna read the entire thing. But yes, this is in Yanu, and every single one of these characters, including this guy right here, is gonna be an animated show. The last thing from the Black Comic Book Festival is these comics. So they come from the Department of Education, but they're written by Black comic book artists. And it's, let me see, is Action Activists, which is really dope. And there's like 3 volumes to this. So I think this is volume number 3. This is volume number 1. And then they had a couple of comics on like certain history topics related to Africa. And then you can see Department of Social Studies and Civics, which I think is really cool. I don't think I've seen maybe Philly, but I haven't seen anything like this anywhere else, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So I got these for King, and he likes to read comics a little more than he does, you know, novels and short stories and like that. So it's our way of connecting. So now that he's getting to a point where I'm starting to teach him about the world and everything like that, like, these will be great. So last but not least, we have some books that I did buy like in the last couple weeks, couple of days. And we're gonna start with Black Disability Politics by Sammy Schultz. I talk about their book, where is it? Yo, none of these books are ever where I need them. They're always somewhere else. With that book, I loved it. It forever changed how I interpret literature, which is like my reason for reading literary theory, critical theory, like that. And so like I always talk about that book, but now I'm reading Black Disability Politics, which I've heard great things. I expect this to like blow my mind in the same way that the other book did. I like reading about disabilities through a black lens, black cultural lens, a black cultural and queer lens, because it sits at so many intersections of my life and the people around me. And so I'm very excited about this one. So this is Odie Henderson's Black Caesars and Foxy Cleopatras. Now, this is going into a conversation that I've been having with myself, and then, you know, at large with that new show, Good Times, or the revamp or the remake, the animated one. Goodness gracious. So here's the thing, and some people may feel some kind of way about this. I do like blaxploitation, and it took me a while to get there. I'm not even gonna hold you. Growing up, so many people turned their nose up at it that I ended up doing that too. But it took there's a documentary called Horror Noir, right? And it talks about the history of horror, black horror, and how Blackula, which is a blaxploitation movie, was like one of the first to accurately depict black people. One of the first. It wasn't the actual first. I think Day of the Dead was that, like, in terms of representation and stuff like that. But Blackula was like a major hit. And seeing how blaxploitation has impacted black culture, like, people can say what they want about it, it did have a major impact on black culture. It had an impact on how black people were able to get into, you know, movies. It just overall had a major impact. So these days there are some blaxploitation things coming out that I do enjoy. There are some things that have come out like recently. Like, I always talk about Bad Mothers. I think it's phenomenal. The representation in there is wonderful. It is a joy to read. Even with Space Negro, it does sit, you know, where I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? But there are some things about it that I really did enjoy it, and I don't walk away from that book feeling grimy about who I am as a black person. But I definitely felt uncomfortable watching Good Times. I watched it with my husband. I watched the first episode and was so uncomfortable with that whole thing. And I tried not to let the bias that I did have, because I was hesitant about it going into it because of the names attached to the show. You know, but it disappointed me. It did not do anything that I felt I was like, oh, I could give this a chance to a second episode or a third episode. There was nothing past that first episode where I was like, I need to watch this again. So then because I was like, okay, well, why am I comfortable with Space Negro, Bad Mothers, and stuff like that? Why am I comfortable with that but not this? And I was like, okay, there are rules. Obviously, there are rules to blaxploitation. So that's why, long story short, that's why I got this book, to really get the history of blaxploitation cinema and figure out the rules to it, and as why one is okay and not the other, and like just put more language to it, you know? So that's what this is for. Next up is The Vigil. Who are The Vigil? They're a mysterious new South Asian super team operating in the shadows. I remember looking at the artwork for this, the covers for it, and it was one of those comics. I was reading City Boy at the time, and I was like, all right, I need the trade paperback for this one. I picked up City Boy in issues, only because it gave me the same feel as The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I was right. Like, if you're gonna pair those two together, they're great. But you know, funds is low, so I was like, all right, when this comes out as a trade paperback, I'm gonna get it. So that's exactly what I did. So I'm very interested in this one. I think, yeah, this is under the We Are Legends, and that, I'm not sure if it's an imprint or if it's just like a overarching title for all the Asian and South Asian books that came out under DC, but they have not missed. It has not missed. Like, if you're gonna look at that, like, I would do that, and then Wonder Comics under DC, and Young Animal. Like, DC does so much better than Marvel, but then Indie, like, kills them all. So so yes, that is my haul. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, I already know I talked a lot, but if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Later.